So, Nikhil, over to you.
Thanks, Sanjeev. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen as well? Can see my screen,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So, Sanjeev already introduced me. My name is Nikhil. I also goes by Nick, and today I'll be talking about the strategic role of security architect. What security architect do? What are the roles? What are the skills required? What projects we work on? And then a lot of interesting things all around security architects from a career role perspective. Happy to answer any questions. Feel free to put it in the chat, and you can message us later in the WhatsApp group as well. We'll be looking out the chats and we'll be sharing all these details. To get started, let me share a bit about my journey and who am I, because that will give a basis that whether you should understand what I'm saying or not, whether you should listen it or not. So for that, what I'll do is instead of reading any slide, I thought I'll just directly jump to my LinkedIn and I'll share you what my journey has been. It's been filled with a lot of things, so I wanted to share what I've been from the start. So I started my journey completing my bachelor's in electronics and communication engineering from SKIT Jaipur. It's not a very popular college. You might not have heard about the name. Also, it's a tier three college. But I was one thing which I was sure was that I wanted to get into the cybersecurity. That was very clear to me when I started my college journey, and that was because I was very fortunate enough to have been introduced with with the computers right early from my college life, like from my schooling life. So that's why my interest with computers were very profound, and that's why my journey started. So I started my bachelor's in RTU, which is the SKIT. Finished it in 2014. That time I started and was very passionate about cybersecurity. I started taking the freelancing projects and some projects around web application pen testing, mobile application pen testing. This was my first company where I was taking these projects, Anti Global Solutions. This is a Dubai-based company, and there, like apart from this, also there was a lot of companies who were giving the projects. Like I reached out to LinkedIn. The reason I'm opening LinkedIn is because I was the initial user of the LinkedIn. When LinkedIn was launched in 2011, I was like initial few hundred users, you can say, for LinkedIn. And since then, I've been really active on LinkedIn. And same is my interaction with all the technology. I'm like a very technology friendly person. ChatGPT also, I was initially the for one of the 100 persons who launched it and shared with my network that this is something going on. So I always like any new technology which is coming up. LinkedIn was one, and LinkedIn also personally for me from a career perspective, it was useful because I was getting a lot of projects while I was while I was studying. So as a student, it gave me a platform to get the projects, which was not possible earlier, like on Naukri or anywhere. So I really like the LinkedIn. I reached out to the founders, to the application developers inside the Jaipur region where I was studying to find out if there are any projects around testing or not, where I can do as a freelance. And I was successful in getting that, and I started working on it. Uh, that went on for like a couple of years. In that process, I also got a job from NT Global Solutions. This was a contractual job for like 3 months actually. And it was the way I was selected is there was a national level CTF. So capture the flags. If you are in security, you would be aware that CTF is a very popular thing in cybersecurity. So I participated in a CTF and I was in the top three candidates, and that's how I got selected for this role. So I was lucky to get this opportunity for 3 months. And when I went there, just I finished my graduation and I went to Africa for my 3 months project. But I put my more efforts than required for the job. That's how you should also do in your initial jobs. It's all about the skill building. And I was able to get a full time role from them. So within the 3 months, although it was a contractual role for 3 months, but because of my work and the skills, they were impressed and they offered me a full time role with them. So I ended up spending like a 4 years with them working with military. So it was a military project. So it gave me a good exposure about how cybersecurity is handled at a national level. And that too with the international team members. It was a very diverse environment. I was working with folks from Australia, India, US. A lot of folks were there and shared like learning, starting a journey between them was quite good for me personally from a skill building perspective. So that's how I started my journey. then like it was a really good experience for me, but like every good thing, it has to end, and I was looking for new opportunities, and that's where I found Atos is now like the name is the Palladian network, so I was working with Palladian networks, but Palladian is now acquired by Atos, and I heard that Atos is also acquired by someone right now, so I don't know the latest name of the company. But yeah, I joined Atos. I was leading their fintech side of the consulting, so I've joined them as team lead, and I started doing the red teaming exercises for the stock exchanges, for big fintech banks in India, across India and the Europe. That was my next journey. I capitalized on my experience on the pen testing and the security testing and engineering, which I had with my first role. And that's how I started building and then move very strategically to the new role. So now I want you to focus that how my roles and priorities have changed. Okay. So once I completed initial 4 years, got an experience, hands-on experience about the security engineering, how the automation happens, what a security engineer do, how pen testing happens. Then moved into a individual like a leadership role or senior roles where I started leading the new thing. So I'm still doing the pen testing, but maybe doing the red teaming. So doing red teaming in 2016, 2015 was not that popular. Like even the red teaming word was something which was very new. Nowadays, like you hear purple teaming, right? So this purple teaming was the red teaming of that time. So we created the rules, we created a lot of things, and it was a good exposure for me. And that gave me an idea that how the hacking can be pursued from a offensive security side, not just from a defensive side. So it was a good experience. But again, like so far, I've been into the consulting side. As you can see from my experience, this was also a service-based company. This was also is a consulting-based company. I wanted a exposure in a product side now. So that's where I joined Quick Heal. So Quick Heal is a very popular name when it comes to cybersecurity, especially in India. They have a very good product both for a B2C and B2B side. So B2C is the Quick Heal, the antivirus which we use, and B2B is the Securite. So Securite is their enterprise offering of the endpoint solutions which they have. So I was working with them again, like working on the product security side. Got to understand more around what how the products is built, how to secure the products, how the malwares work. So far I've just been working hearing about malware. So that journey helped me, and this again was a very strategic move. I wanted to get exposure about the product side, so that's why I moved in this domain and got some exposure. Quick Heal again like was going good, but if you remember 2017, 2018, the Bitcoin started flooding. Like that was a market of cryptocurrencies. Everybody was talking about cryptos and blockchains, and Web3 was becoming so thing. Like you are seeing AI now, right? Everybody's talking about AI and all. So blockchain and Web3 was the time of 2017, 2018, and I was looking for my roles that how can I start working in those technology. So I was looking as a next career move. I was looking for those experience, like those companies who are working in this. And to my surprise, at that time in India, nobody was working on Web3 and like on the blockchain technology. So I started looking outside, like where the major things are working. And then I found a role with PwC within their consulting side, emerging tech consulting side in Thailand. So I was leading. I started joined them as manager. I started leading their consulting side for the emerging technology, which is mostly focused on blockchain. So that's where like I took care of the whole ASEAN region. So Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, all these regions were part of my geography. I started working with the clients, especially the government clients and the fintechs who were building the blockchain. So that helped me be in the line of blockchain as well. So from product security to from security engineering, I now move to the blockchain side, which is the Web3 side. So give me a good idea about this technology. And again, it was useful for that time because very less people were doing security of blockchain that time. There was very less companies who were working on it, so it gave me an edge when it comes to this new technology. The same thing, like I had a couple of challenges when it comes to this technology, like the geography from a language perspective, but still like I decided to move to the new technology, which is the cloud and the DevSecOps part. That was becoming again like becoming the top of talk of town when it comes to 2020. If you see the way I have progressed, it all relates when this technology was at peak. So blockchain was peak in 2018. Cloud security, DevSecOps were at peak in 29, like 2020, 2021. Everybody was talking about blockchains, sorry, cloud security and DevSecOps. So that's where I joined Deloitte in Singapore, and I was leading the APAC region when it comes to their cloud security and DevSecOps, container security. All these new things were becoming very much popular, and I started working around that area. So the thing which I wanted to share with this journey is that you should evaluate your skill sets and your plan in advance. Don't wait for what you want to do based on where you are right now. You should plan it ahead. Look at 2 years or 3 years horizon. Don't look at that. Okay, I'm getting like this is my current salary, or this is my current company, or my friend is going here. You accordingly go there. Look at from a technology perspective that how the world is shifting, and accordingly try to build your skills. That will be the best way you can build your career. So that's my honest advice how I have built it. Again, like I wanted to relocate back to India. I was looking for a new technology, and that's where I heard about the confidential computing and AI. So this again is a very new technology when it comes to 2021. Like 2022 was the ChatGPT which was launched, but I started working on AI and confidential computing in 2021. So it gave me a head start, 1 year head start before everybody started thinking about AI. Right. So those kind of decisions you have to make when it comes to your career. Okay. So it's very important that how you portray your skills and career, that is dependent on how well you know the technology and the impact of technology in the real world. Okay, not the hype. You should know the real world. Here there were a lot of hype on the metaverse also. You see the metaverse was also hyped, but do you see anywhere I was working on metaverse? No, because like you have to be very practical about whether you know about those technologies or not, whether you actually feel about them, it is right or not. Okay, so that's why this will be really important. And in my previous role, I was working as a senior architect, mostly in the R&D side, because these two new technologies are still in the research and development phase. They are not very production ready. So I was working there. And my current role with Ethos, which is a fintech in US, I'm working as a product security architect, and currently leading, defining the strategic roadmap of all the products which goes into production. And that's the journey which I'll be sharing with you today. So in short, I wanted to share that what was my thought process when I decided to move from one company to other. It was not just from the money perspective that okay, I want a hike for this or that or that. It was a very thoughtful decision. Sometimes I got lucky also. I'm not saying that every time I'm like a mastermind or a Chanakya that I thought about it and I just switched it. It is not the case. I got lucky also. But it is still was a very thoughtful decision where I discussed it with my mentor, or I researched about a particular technology and then took a call. Because all these roles, if you see, are in different countries also. So it is good to switch in one country, but when you are switching the countries itself along with the company, that again itself is a risk and another challenge. So that's what I'm saying. Like think it from a longer horizon perspective. Sanjeev, you want to add anything on this before I go ahead?
No, I think for almost all the security architects, whoever is having 10 to 15 years experience by now would have gone through the similar approach. Like for me, like I was a software developer, and then it was very challenging for me to move from the software development to the pen testing, and then taking the pen test role to the application security and cloud security role. And then moving toward the security architecture. So it's not always easy. And as you said, like you have to plan in advance, and you have to see lots of ifs and buts, what will work for you, what would not. And in as your LinkedIn is showing, like whatever you have worked, you have written that. So same thing I'm telling everyone, like write only the things which you know. Right, don't
Right.
write like okay, I know about crypto, I know about blockchain, but and because just because you want to have a job in blockchain, right, rather you can study, you can have some kind of at least a basic knowledge, and then maybe you can try accordingly. Yeah, so it's a good journey, Nikhil. I think most of the people who are of your experience would say the same thing. So and this is going to be interesting with the slides and all, so that they whatever the questions they have, because there will be people who are joining from the pen testing background. Someone would be like trying to be an architect, someone wants to understand, like I'm already an architect, what I'm doing wrong and right, and what else I can do, what is the career progression, what are the latest technologies we have to read. I think you are going to cover all these, so these all questions will
Yeah.
be anyway sorted out. But still I will ask the other people to write in chat your questions, and then we will take all those questions. Yeah, thank you,
Perfect.
Nikhil.
So let's go to the main agenda, the main course. Now we have done the starters, so let's go to the main course and see what we are doing. Like why this security architecture is suddenly becoming so popular. This is like when I look at security architect role, this is becoming like a new product manager role. So now every company is looking for a product manager. So I think security architect is that kind of a fancy role which every company has it, but maybe they don't know the how to use a security architect. They just have it as a fancy person that security architect. They need a security architect like a product manager, but there is a very difficult or like a different things which a security architect really do. So with this session, I want to explain that what exactly security architect do, because if we are confused with what companies are using security architect as, and we try to define our skills according to that, it will not be useful for long term. Like it will not take you far, because if you are a security architect and still you are doing a compliance work or a GRC work, trust me, that is not a long term journey, or that is just like a security architect on a paper but not actually on the ground. So it's very important to know that what are the right skills and how can you bridge that gap, like why security architect is important, right? So let's discuss those things in today's session. Okay, so security architect is a very important and a strategic role. Again, I say it's a strategic role in security. Why it's strategic role? Because you need a person or a someone who has experience and who knows the security. It's not just like a pen testing job. It's not like an automation, like a automation job which a person can come and replace. So replacing a security architect will always be difficult compared to any other roles. Okay, so if you have a pen tester, you can get two pen testers tomorrow. You can get a consulting firm who can do pen testing for you. But getting a security architect, replacing a architect skills is very difficult. So this is a strategic role. That means you will have more opportunities to put an impact in your organization, as well as you will have more opportunities to grow. And third thing, because you have more opportunities, you have opportunities to show impact and learn. Definitely the pay scale would also be very different, because this is a very strategic role. Okay, so that's why you have to understand why this is a different role, why you should think about it. Okay, so again, like security, it stands somewhere between the IT and the security. Okay, with security architect, you should know how IT functions. It cannot happen. You cannot function as an architect without knowing IT, because an IT does not mean like you should know the firewall or you should know like how the packets are transferring. That is not the IT anymore. IT is basically the new age IT. Like you should know how the identity and access is managed, how your infrastructure is managed, how your SRE is functioning, how your Okta is functioning, how your identity access and PAM is functioning. That is the IT. That is the modern IT. It is no longer that you should know how the data center is, or how the firewalls are working. That is not the IT. IT is very modernized. It is way modern than what earlier like assumptions are. So you should know the IT functioning. You should know the security functioning, and that's where you come as a bridge. So for an application team or for a product team, you are a person who can bridge the gap of both infrastructure and the security. Okay, so that's where you lie in the between, that how you can convince to scale a product which is secure but yet scalable. Okay, so the scalability part along with the security is what an architect is responsible for, not just the security or not just the scalability. So the where you include the word scalability or like a sustainable growth with security, that's what the role of architect is. So you should think the security architect from that perspective, and the skill should be like expected accordingly. So the second part thing, that is a technical expertise which comes in. Now that you know that it's a strategic role and it sits between the IT and the security, you should know the IT as well. You cannot be just, I am a security person, I don't know how Okta works or how my identity provider works, how my API tokens work. If you don't know those kind of things, like how your API gateway is working, how it is provisioned, how your infrastructure is provisioned, whether infrastructure is provisioned through infrastructure as a code or it is just provisioned through management rules or with Terraforms. If you don't know these things, it will be difficult for you to take a call or take those strategic decisions for your organization or your product. Okay, so you have to build your skills accordingly. The technical expertise will come handy if you are aware about both the IT and the security side. Okay, so that's why I always say that look out for the new technologies if you are in this role or if you want to get into this role. Third thing is the communication. Communication is the underrated aspect of security architect. Since you need to interact with multiple stakeholders, security architect is a very senior role. It is not like in a real organization. If any organization considering a security architect, it will be a very senior role. It will not be like an entry level role or a mid role. It will be a senior role. Like for me myself, like my role is very senior, like it a VP level role, but it's an individual contributor role. You won't have like a 5 team members whom you are managing and all. It's not a people management role. It's an individual contributor role, right? So you need to be effective in your communication. That means an effective communication does not mean that you speak well. Okay, I'm not saying that your verbal communication should be good or your written communication is good. That is not effective communication. Effective communication is that you know the how to communicate with the business folks and you know how to communicate with the technical folks. You should not mix the both. You should not talk technical with the business and business with the technical. That is what effective communication is. Okay, it is not that you don't know English and you should improve your English, go to English classes. That is not effective communication. Okay, effective communication means that you should convey the gaps, or you should convey things properly according to the audience or the person you are interacting with. Okay, and in this case, normally security architect will interact with the CXOs, the leadership team. So the effective communication becomes important because you have to inform them about the business aspect from a technical standpoint. So that conversion, how you show the business impact of your technology, becomes really important. That's where I am also learning. I'm not saying I'm an expert. This is a continuous learning curve for me personally, because I am a very technical person. To explain things in a business knowledge or in a business form is sometimes difficult for me too. But this is a good on job learning which I am having. And I will also give you an idea that you should focus on this too. Okay, so this is according to me are the three skills. Yes,
Yeah,
Sanjeev.
yeah. Yes, Nikhil. The same thing, like for soft skills, like we always emphasize, like you should have a very good soft skills apart from your security skills. Where like, and after these two things, there will be a project management. So in soft skills, I
Hmm.
think one thing is interpersonal skill, because you have to talk to the different team members, not just your team. And it can be product management, it can be software development, it can be even someone from TPM, right, third party, or compliance risk, other people. So you should know like how to convey your technical message in their terms. And the other thing is influential skill. How can you influence the other team members, right? Because otherwise your success also matters if it
Mhm.
works in their area, right? So yeah,
Correct.
that's important.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjeev. So, yeah, these are, I think, for me, the very important skills which are needed. Like now, the next thing, like why security architect role is suddenly becoming popular, right? It's not that it is very fancy and everybody is thinking about it just to have a security. It is not like replacement of a security engineer, or it is not a replacement of a compliance or a GRC analyst. That is not how the security architect should be is actually perceived. Security architect role, why it is becoming popular, is because the landscape is changing. Like organization after the COVID, you would have seen the remote work has become very common. Cloud adoption, because of all this public cloud coming in the picture, SaaS based products which are coming. You see the SaaS based, like almost according to Gartner, 80% of vendors or new startups which are coming is SaaS based, right? So the way we are moving towards the SaaS or the cloud, and the number of data breaches which are happening on a daily basis, there is it is required to do something different. You cannot just go with the same approach that you have two pen tester, you have three security engineer, two compliance analysts. That kind of approach is no longer working for any organization. That's why there is a need to do something different, and that's how the security architect roles is coming in to bring the strategic things into the mind. Okay, so it's strategic things where it the you can consider security architect like a brahmastra for your CISO. If you have a good security architect, your CISO is very much uh he's very much comfortable in taking any new initiative. Okay, he'll be less worried about whether this will hit or whether the it is worth investing or not, or else they will be always kind of difficult for them to understand that I do this, can I invest in this, all those kind of things will be very difficult. So all those kind of areas definitely are something which security architect helps it. And these all areas like remote work, cloud adoption, data breaches are the areas which are currently a security architects brings their knowledge in. Okay, from a strategy perspective, that how organization deal with these kind of new working environment, these kind of landscape. Okay, so I personally work on these three areas for my teams. Previously also, the focus areas like this strategy, if you talk to any CISO, and if they are looking to secure the organization, there are two types of CISOs. Like that's what my mentor has told me, that there are two types of CISOs. One CISO who will get you compliant. You will have 10 of compliance certificates and you will be compliant with everything. And then there is a second type of CISO who will get you secure. So the job demand and the requirement of the second type of CISO who gets you secured is what is increasing and is always required. Not the person who is get you compliant. Compliance you can get in 1 month, 2 months from a consultant also. Okay, you get hire a consultant and they can get you compliant. But a CISO or a person who can get you secure, that is what is needed in the market right now. okay, who can give you an assurance that yes, any kind of an attack, be it a ransomware, be it any data breach or anything, we will be secure, or we'll take the initial steps to secure it. That's what an architect or a real CISO brings in. Okay, so that's how you should pursue your skills as well. Okay, cool. Now, what are the key skills and traits required? Okay, so don't think ChatGPT. Like I personally am a very big fan of ChatGPT. As I told you, I was an initial user of ChatGPT as well. When it was launched, within the one first hour of ChatGPT, which was launched, I was the first person created an account, posted about the wonderful things which ChatGPT is doing. So I like ChatGPT. It is definitely a very good thing for me. But my problem is that we are in a security thing, in a security domain. I cannot use chat gpt as my assistant. I'm not in a marketing, I'm not in HR where I can just copy paste or ask it to create a mail or ask it to create a policy document. It is not possible for me to do it, specifically if as an architect I cannot take an architectural decision with the help of chat gpt. So I suggest, please don't use chat gpt for a security related work, especially for your strategies or whatever key things or planning things which you are doing. There are a lot of other things which you can work around. But of course, ChatGPT will be good for productivity and for other things. What you need is these things. Okay, so these are the things, real skills which you will need, how you want to develop or prepare for the security architect role. First, for a technical expertise. Technical is really important. Okay, I cannot emphasize more. CISO, security, infosec, these are a technical domain. And nowadays, if you look at your organization structure, how infosec is being portrayed, these comes under the engineering. They are no longer coming under IT or some other domain. They all comes under engineering. That's why special focus is on the technical side. So for any good companies who are focused on security, they will be looking out for your technical expertise only. So focus on knowing the technologies which are in demand and are useful, practical technologies. Okay, so the practical technologies are like cryptography. You need to protect the data. You need to know how the cryptography work, how APIs are working. You need to know the networking side, how the L1, L2, L3. We talk about OSI model. I learned OSI model in 2011. And today also, Sanjeev, I have been using OSI model like anything. When I do my threat model or when I do an architecture, I look everything from a OSI model perspective, that these are the 7 layers. Okay, maybe I'm not going to a level layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, but the layer 7 and layer 4, how the things are happening between those 4 layers is how my threat model is defined, how my architecture is defined. So OSI layer, these kind of things are really, really important, and you should never leave your technical expertise for any perspective. Okay, just ensure that you are having these technical expertise there. You know how to do a threat model. Threat model is something which can be done by a fresher also, and which can be done by a CISO also. A CISO also do threat modeling. Like there, I have seen personally worked with the CISOs who are doing threat modeling, and they love threat modeling. Like everybody loves threat modeling is like creating an application for a software developer. You should love threat modeling. That's how you should pursue threat modeling. So I personally love threat modeling. I have been doing threat modeling for like almost 10 years now. And threat modeling is something which you should know, you should do it, and personally you can learn it. It is like I call it like you can be like artist when you're doing a threat modeling. You can be so creative of thinking about the threat or the vulnerabilities which could be there that you wouldn't have imagined. So be very creative when you're looking and doing these kind of threat modeling, cryptographic, or these things. And for that, technical expertise is really important. You should focus on that. Then think it from a strategic perspective. So strategic thinkings are the places where you take decisions like buy versus build valid decisions. So always in security, like same like engineering or in product, always as a strategic thinking is whether you can build something or you can buy something. Okay, so you should look it from that perspective. From a security, whether what efforts you are investing or the money you are investing, is it worth building something, or do you have an existing vendor who can actually give you the better things, but right. So I will be secure today instead of waiting for 6 months where I build things and then get to security. But again, I'm not saying that you should always go for the third party vendors and start buying vendors for it. It's not what I'm saying. That's why the strategic word is important, that you should think strategically that what is important. Okay. If I'm doing a data analytics project, of course, I cannot put my data outside. it's better for me to build it. If I'm doing, let's say, AI based thing, it's good for me to build things for me, because it I have more sensitive data for my company. It risking sharing it will be a risk. So those kind of way you have to be strategic when it comes to. But basic things like, let's say you are talking about WAF. So WAF is something, if you started creating a building a WAF yourself, you will lose like a whole year to just optimize the rules and all those kind of things. You can actually take any vendor and start creating WAF itself, right? So those kind of things are really important, that how you pursue your thinking, how your thoughts are there. And that's why you should know the landscape of technology, like how technology is shifting, what are the new threats coming, how technology, which new things are coming, how the public and private cloud are working, whether what is the difference between the public and private cloud. Nowadays cloud is also very old now. Everybody is on Kubernetes. Everybody is on containers, right? Good companies are working in containers in Kubernetes. If you don't know what are the Kubernetes security policies, how to secure Kubernetes, what security policies, all those kind of things, if you're not aware or you're not thinking in that way, whatever decisions you take will not be strategic. Like you have to change them after 6 months because they will not align with the growth your product is having. So that's why strategy think is really important. Communication skills, I think we have already touched base. It's again very important skills. And last is the leadership and collaboration. As Sanjeev, you mentioned, you have to collaborate with multiple teams. It is, as an architect, it's not a people manager role. You won't have like 10 or 15 members which you are doing a review, their annual review, or doing one-on-one with them. That is not how the architect works. It's an individual contributor role. And you have to collaborate with leaders as well as other team members from engineering, from CXOs, from your internal security teams like compliances or your incident response. Everybody you have to collaborate. So it will need your leadership skills, how well you can collaborate and work with other folks. So that's another important skills and traits which you should develop. Okay, not just the technical. So keep polishing all these areas wherever you find that gaps are there as an architect. I think these four skills will definitely help.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, these are the common four skills that we say always. And in case, I mean, he talked about threat modeling. So I have shared one threat modeling study plan link because nowadays, like this is one of the key skills. Either you are working as a cloud security professional or application security or product security, or be it any field where you are a senior professional, you have to have a good knowledge on threat modeling. So there are two books. I'm not sure if I can show it here and if it's visible. If not, then this is one of the book, and I will share the link of these two books. And anyways, in the study plan, it is already shared. So, and Rajiv has asked one question, Nikhil. Like
Yeah.
it's a good question. I think it's good that we are getting all these questions. So, like, what are the things that you think where we should concentrate? Like, of course, you have maybe a slide, but
From
we
a
are asking,
technology
yeah,
perspective,
yeah, from the technology perspective, is it like always trending technology we should go ahead and we
no,
should
no. So
forget
as
about
I said,
all?
it's not about the trending technologies. I gave you a good example of metaverse. So like metaverse was also trending, but you should know that you should believe in the technology. You should see whether it
Right.
will be practical or not. For me personally, I feel that machine learning AI is something. Gen AI, especially the AI agents, agentic will be the future. Agentic AI it would be the future for all the companies. Like irrespective of whether you are into AI or not, personally, you will be dependent on the vendors who are using AI. So it is no brainer that you should develop your skills on AI and AI security. And when I say AI security, it should be beyond those 4 or 5 slides that AI is a risk, cybersecurity and AI compliance. So this is not AI security. You have to go beyond. You have to go a level, second level. You have to double click on AI security and go to level where you know what are the different models. I know personally a lot of folks don't even cannot name 5 models. Sanjeev, like what are the 5 models which are there in
Agreed.
AI? How would they secure? Like ChatGPT is not the model.
Yep.
I don't know how many times I've told people that ChatGPT is not the model. If you look ChatGPT offers 12 models themselves on the website. Like they have
Correct.
12 models and they have different purposes. So if you don't double click, if you are just at a strategic level or at
Mhm.
a thinking from that perspective that security is a risk or security and AI from a data privacy perspective, that is a very high level of thought. You should go deep dive. You should
Yep.
look into how the technology is created, and that I will
Mhm.
say would be my from my side. Again, like blockchain would be another area. Like I have always been very positive about blockchain. with Trump coming into the picture, Bitcoin
Mhm.
rising, and all those
Mhm.
things. These are like a resurgence of blockchain technology. But I
Yeah.
still are very like pro about the blockchain, not the currency, cryptocurrencies. I'm not again saying not in favor of crypto, but I'm in favor of the blockchain as a technology
Correct.
because I'm very positive about what impact it will be bringing. And last, if I have to name one technology, would be the Kubernetes. Kubernetes, like it's been 5 years now, 5 years, and still people don't know Kubernetes. Still, people in security are thinking, what is Kubernetes? And they are starting talking about cloud security now. Like cloud security is a 10 years old concept. Now people are moving to Kubernetes and all
Right.
different new orchestration. So that is something I think we have to look from a technology stack perspective.
Extract perspective, and also like just to add in your point, do we need to master on all the skills? I don't think everyone can be a master of all the
No,
skills,
no,
right?
no.
So,
So there are
but
two things.
yeah.
You can be a generalist or you can be a specialist. It depends on what your positions are, how you want to do it. For me, I feel that as an architect, you do need a touch of all the technology because you have to work on all things. So
Right.
but still it comes with its own unique flavor of being a specialist also in few domains. So it can be a generalist, but you do need to be a specialist in few domains like data security, identity and access. On the networking side, you need a specialization also. You cannot be just as a generalist comes into the picture and start creating an architecture, a security architect for the company. You do need an expertise to come with this role. So it will be a combination of a generalist and a specialist.
Right. And before you proceed to the another slide, I would add, like, we need to develop our T-shaped skill. So in case if you
Yeah.
can explain that T-shaped skill for the people, like for a security architect, what should be the T-shaped skills, right? Let's say for application security architect, as an example.
So I think the focus would be mostly around how the code reviews are done. Like code reviews would be a very important thing. I personally do code reviews right now, and I love doing code reviews because that tell me how developers are thinking. Okay, it is not my role. Like as a security architect, you don't need to do code review, but you should know how to do code review because that gives you an idea that how developers are thinking right now, what code they are writing. So they are writing, sometimes they are writing a Go, some they are writing in .NET, like in Go, sometimes in Python, different language they are using, and they are doing some new things. So that gives me a good. So code review and understanding the secure development is one good skills which I recommend for any security architect. Second would be a knowledge on the API. Everything is API driven now. Like you cannot imagine if there monolithic is not a concept anymore. Everything is API driven. You should know how API functions. How, and when I say API function, API does not mean just API that this is the API, this is the body of the API or the header over there. You should know the headers, how to define the headers, how to make a use of headers. Like from a security engineer perspective, what headers you can define in an API which help you to do a monitoring or tracking or additional security within your APIs. That is something which is really important because if you look at the API landscape of your company where you're working, you will see everything is on API now, be it internal or external. So API security is another area which I always recommend for the architects to focus on. Third thing I will say is the SRE side. So SRE, which is your site reliability engineering, mostly comes under the infrastructure side, which is around the cloud side. So cloud infrastructure is something which I feel you should know how the infrastructure is provisioned, how infrastructure is created. I'm not saying you should be a pro of this domain, but at least you should know the functioning of it. How, like, what are the disadvantages of using EC2 compared to a container? Right now, like I have seen companies who are not using EC2 at all, but then I see companies who are only using EC2s. So there is a big shift between the companies like in US or Europe who are not using EC2 to India where everything is on EC2. So like it's that's where the strategic thinking is there, and that's where the skills as an architect is important. That you should know why what is the balance of these two domains, like why it should not be there and why it should be there. So that is another important skills which I feel.
Yeah, that's great. And we have more questions, but I think we will take it
Yeah, yeah.
later.
I
Yeah,
think I
yeah,
just
you
have
can
15
continue.
minutes and I'm just on the fourth, fifth slide. Okay.
Yeah,
Let
please
me
go ahead.
go through what I'm doing, right? What I
Yeah.
do in my day-to-day activities from last couple of years. So I do technical architecture reviews. Any new product or feature which goes, I do a technical review of the products from a security perspective. That's where the threat modeling, identifying the attack paths, doing the API reviews of if it is interacting with the third parties or not. All those kind of areas I personally review and see what are the gaps and how I can fill it. That is what I do. doing the threat modeling and the security design. So once I have an architecture, I do go to the architecture is more focused on the infrastructure or SRE side. That's what I said. Whether it will be on cloud, what kind of technologies we are using, that is focused on the technical architecture. Then the security design threat model is more security specific. That what could be the possible threats from internal, external, SaaS vendors, what all things. So those are areas which I review. I create policies, new policies. Now the policies are not the SOC policies or the ISO policies or the compliance policies. These are not the policies. The policies are the new policies. For example, I recently created a policy on quantum cryptography. So crypto agility, how do you keep your application crypto agile? Like let's say if tomorrow if you have to change a encryption algorithm to from AES to DES or something new algorithms come like a crypto algorithm come, how easy it would be for you to do or switch that. So for you, for that is a job of an architect. You have to work with the leadership. You have to ensure that your team is agile in that way from a cryptography perspective, from an infrastructure perspective. So for that, I have to create the policies, I have to write those policies, I have to design things there. Okay. So those are the areas, the policy development, creating, leading those initiatives is what I've been doing involved. Incident response is important because I need to know what is happening in my environment. Like if I don't know what are the places where my organization is vulnerable to, like if I am getting most attacks, let's say at a application or let's say at my API level, and my focus is to secure the network, it will not lead to any benefits for me. So I need to have an understanding how my infrastructure is monitoring. So I spend some time around incident response to see how what all type of incidents are happening, do a historical analysis of the incident, and then understand or define my goals strategies according to those incidents. So wherever more attacks or more visibilities is required, I put my efforts to those areas. So those are like four day-to-day responsibilities which I do. Of course these are not the only ones. You would know, like in corporate when you work, there are multiple things which comes apart from your quarterly goals and your daily goals, weekly goals. So but these are like four major areas which I personally work from a day-to-day perspective. And this is a very important slide, like how do I define the architecture. So I look it from a layer defense perspective. We keep on hearing about zero trust, defense in depth, layer defense. These are all very loosely used terms. But I personally, like, since it's something which I love it, I look all these things in the order, that whether there are subsequent controls or not. So only the it should not be just one control is there and I'm okay that okay risk is mitigated, but I look at the multiple controls whether layer defense is there or not. That is my strategy for all the controls. Then I look for the least privilege. I'm a very big believer of the least privilege model. That means you should only do what you should do. I personally don't have access to any production data or any production tool which I don't need it. Okay, so that's how I operate, and I encourage those kind of bits. So you should review the user's access in Okta and all those kind of areas, or especially in your security tools, enable the maker checker functionalities from a least privilege perspective, only to allow users to do what they are supposed to do. Segregation of duties again is a very important thing. I encourage in application, in infrastructure, in access, everywhere you can actually have segregation of duties. It is a very important concept. And all the products, if you see today or any new products, they are coming with the features with segregation of duties now. So least privilege was more focused on role-based access control, but segregation of duties itself is a new feature which every product is bringing now. That's where the maker checker functionalities and all those kind of things are coming in. Quorum approvals, maker checker, all those things comes in the segregation of duties. So this again, I focus especially on these areas. Fail safe mechanism, A to B testing. It is not just for engineering. A to B testing is also for security. You should also have a fallback mechanism. Let's say if your Okta fails today, what you will do next? Like what is the backup strategy? I asked this question from a lot of folks and nobody has an answer of it. Like what is the next step if they're in like identification fail, if their Azure AD fails or their Okta or any IDV fails, what is the next thing? So we should understand the failsafe and plan the things accordingly. Assume breach approach, which we say, you should think about that perspective also when you're planning security. And then monitoring. I think visibility is a very big challenge. You should know, you should monitor everything. Everything, when I say it's not that you monitor every logs, it should be important, but you should have the visibility of the key assets. So from your compliance, when you know the critical asset or your most crown jewels, you should have adequate monitoring of the access and the specific DLP kind of things when you are looking at those critical crown jewel assets. So the monitoring is really important. So these are like five basic principles which I personally plan whenever I'm reviewing or designing any new product or a feature. So this is like my takeaway, like how I look at any new architecture, what I try to do. It's like a tip for my side that what I personally do. Of course, people will do multiple things. Like I also not restricted to these five, but these are like the five areas which I broadly think, and then I go to the other things, other areas like security testing and all those kind of things. The career path, I think it's quite easy for everyone to know. Entry level roles start with security analyst, pen tester, or system admin, security consulting. Multiple roles are there as an end where how you can start. Mid level roles would be like once you know as an analyst or tester, you will do some automation as an engineer or you will become a consultant. And that's where you can become an architect as well. Okay, so now it will depend on the company. Like companies, there are companies who have architects as a mid-level roles also, and there are companies who have architect at a very senior roles also, like at a VP and a director level. So it depends on the how the company is thinking their architect to work. Okay, it will be completely different than company to company. But again, like for becoming an architect, the path will look like you have to at least spend like a couple of years in the domain, learn different technology. As I said, like the key skills which I told you, it should not be just like pen testing and you can become an architect, or GRC and you can become an architect. Those architects exist. I'll not say that that will not happen. You can definitely become it, but that is not a true architect. Like you should understand that you do need understanding of how infra works, how IT works, how these areas works as well. So that is really important. And then like there is ample amount of places to grow. Like you can, from an architect, you can either continue as an individual contributor and become a chief architect, or so like there are multiple areas you can grow in an architect domain as an individual contributor. And if you want to get into a people management or maybe like in a strategic role, then CISO is definitely one of the option, and CTO is another option which you can go through. Okay, so those are the two areas which you work. For me personally, the benefits of working as an architect are that I get to work in cool technology. Like it's something which I am always two step ahead when it comes to anything new. Okay, so since it's a strategic role, I have every task when I create a Jira ticket, it's always something which I not know. It's something which is very new to me. So I'm very excited whenever I create a new Jira ticket because this will be something which I have not worked in. So cloud security, although it looks very simple, but cloud security itself is a very deep thing. Like I'm exploring a lot of new things in cloud security itself. Next gen tech like AI, ML, I told you, quantum computing, I told you, constitutional computing. These are very new technologies, and these will be very much important in next 5 years. Like in next 5 years, will be like I'm sure this. I have referred my talks a lot, like previous talks about these all technologies, and I'm sure that this technologies will be definitely useful, and we are already planning for it. Like good companies are already planning for new technologies, not just thinking about that to what to do now. Cryptography, like I'm a big fan of cryptography. Like I cannot say emphasize enough that what cryptography can play as a security person, or just if you are enthusiastic about technology, cryptography is something which you should definitely explore. It is like it's a different domain itself. Like it has a lot of possibilities you can explore. So I do get to work on cryptography side, which I personally like. And security automation, nothing is complete without automation. Automation is the area which saves, increases your productivity, saves your time, saves the cost for your company, for yourself as well. If you save your cost, you will have more budget to attend more conferences or maybe travel further. So for me, automation is a very important thing. I like emphasize all my team to go towards the automation. So these are like benefits, pros, which I feel is a reason why I like in a security architect role, because it's always thinking in a 2 years or 3 years horizon. As an organization, also, I'm not thinking that I have to do a pen testing or I have to do an audit in this quarter or next quarter or do a SOC audit, get this certificate. That is not my goals or that is not my KPI. My KPI is to see how are we ready for quantum? How are we ready for adopting Kubernetes? How are we ready for maybe looking at new machine learning models or training these? So that is the conversations on the table, and that's what I enjoy as an architect personally. So for me, that is like the cool stuff which I get to do. The projects which I leads mostly are zero trust implementation. Zero trust, again, I said, is a very loosely used term, but it's very very important. Like I can say very confidently that it's very difficult for me to implement zero trust now also, because it's such a big domain and it has such a lot of things which are required, that it itself is a very long term project. It's like a 2 year, 3 year, 4 year project. It's not like a 1 quarter or a 2 quarter kind of a project. So zero trust is something which I continuously improve and work on, and I personally enjoy like this aspect. So I keep adding my skill sets around this area. DevSecOps is very important because you work very closely with engineering. Security is a complementary function to engineering. If there is no engineering, trust me, there won't be any security. A non-engineering team never need a security. So if our dependency is on engineering, you should know engineering as well. You should know what engineers are using, how they are using. If you don't know those aspect, that how engineers are using, if you are trying to make their life difficult, if there is a friction, or if you don't know about what their functioning is, you will not be able to survive in this. I can like that's what I realize. So DevSecOps is a very important skills, and it keeps changing. It is not that DevSecOps is just creating a CI/CD cycle and that's done. Doing code review and some security SaaS desk integration with the CI/CD pipe. That is not the DevSecOps integration. That is like a false definition of DevSecOps integration. DevSecOps is beyond this. Like there are no so many SaaS vendors, so many security like process integrations which are there in DevOps pipeline nowadays, like infrastructure provisioning, that you need to expand your horizon. You need to expand your skills continuously. So it's again very important. And data, like everything is dependent on data. We are hearing about data privacy, but not just don't talk very holistically about data privacy, that yeah, data should be secure. We have to comply with GDPR, we have to comply with DPDP, we have to comply. That is not what data privacy. How do you ensure the data privacy? Have you set up the data consent management? How you are deleting the data? How you are retaining the data? How you are protecting the data from a data in use perspective? Or are you just securing the data at rest or in transit only? I can tell you, Sanjeev, a lot of folks again don't know the data in use security, that this concept exists, that how to secure a data in use. So this again is a very important concept. As an architect, you should think about it and look in these prospects, because this is really important. As an attacker, since I come from offensive background, I know that data in use is like my bread and butter. Like I can do a lot of things when if from a data in use security perspective. So now organizations started thinking about that aspect. So again, I suggest these are the major projects which I lead, and I'm sure like there are other areas also which other architects will be working on, but for me personally, I'm involved in this. I already told about this, like why this role stand out. It's very impactful. It's challenging. It keeps you on toe because of the new technologies, and it is in demand. It's really in demand. It's like the product manager role in security. It is fancy, but for a good architect, it is really it really pays well, and it really gives you the best opportunities to work with the best company. So although I worked in so many countries outside, only reason I can come back to India was because of the architect role. If you see, last 5 years I've been working as an architect. Only reason is because this gives me that fancy things to work on. I don't need to rely on that. I need to work on this or that. I'm always one step ahead because of this role. So that's why I personally like this role. I was not aware about this role that this exists, but as I learned more, I am really glad that I chose this domain. There are challenges and rewards for security architect. Like the challenges are that threats are evolving. Since you are planning strategically, you should know what are the new threats which are coming, and at a technical level, not just that new data privacy law will come or new technology will come, so attackers will come through that or that. That is not the evolving threats, but evolving threats are how your growth is increasing. So like if your organization adopting edge devices or not, IoT or not, your if your meeting room is there, that how you're securing your meeting rooms from the visitors. Those are the areas which develops, and those are the talking points which you should do. Resource constraint is always a thing. Like since you are an individual contributor, you don't have you cannot take a budget calls, right? So you need to then come up with the plans, like how you can show the impact about whatever decisions or whatever things you want to do. That always comes as a resource constraint. Communication, I told you, like talking business with tech and tech with business is always not the case. You should know whom to talk, like what you should talk with whom. I think job satisfaction is something which I consider as a reward. You will feel really excited. You will love what you would be doing if you are in a good architect role. Like I have never seen a good architect not happy with what he's doing. I've always seen him complaining that he's doing a lot, but I'd always seen him happy because he's always working on a new technology. And from career growth perspective, I cannot emphasize enough. If you have right skills, definitely you will do good. How much of security I can make yearly in India? Very good topic. Let me just see if there is no my company persons in here. or else it'll become big issue for me later. Yeah. So like I'll give you a ballpark number. See, architects, as I said, like architecture is security architecture is a very loose term used in India specifically. Indian companies are using it very loosely. I'm not sure like what would be the paying standard, but security architects, if you are having right skills, right team, and you have a good decent experience, like you are working with a good companies who are focused on securing, not complying. Okay, again, security is not complying. Security is securing against the attacks. Okay, security. If you are working with the organization who are focused on security, not on the compliance, I can assure you that there's a very good amount. Just to give you a frame, something around it, easily you can earn more than crores in India. Easily, like no doubt, you don't have to think twice, thrice, or all. Sanjeev know it. Like he's very happily smiling because he knows the in and out of it. I know of it, but it's really very easy. If you have good skills, definitely it is possible. And I'll not say much about it. What is my tips for anyone who is starting? Start early. Cybersecurity is something which will take time for you to understand the concept. It is not easy. It will take some passion. You need to build your strong foundation in this domain. You need to seek mentorship. Mentorship is very underrated. You should have good mentors in this domain. Personally, for me, mentors was really useful and it helped me. Stay updated. You have to be updated about new threats, new technologies, new things which are coming into this domain. I think these career tips are something which are very obvious. There is nothing new things which I'm saying here. What I can share is my experience. Like this is again like new things will keep coming. Future, I am very sure. What I did differently is something which I can share with you. First thing which I did is that I found my passion. Cybersecurity was something which during my engineering itself I found that is something which I want to do as a career. Is something which motivated me, and that's why everything which I did from that point onwards was to achieve this passion, and that's why I really enjoy working in cybersecurity. Next is I stayed curious. New technology came. Kind of explored those technology, did hands-on things, not just like attended a talk or attended a webinar. I actually did something practical, created a lab. Let's when cloud was launched, I created a EC2 instance. I actually did my personal laptop and was spending more time on a EC2 instance instead of my personal laptop. That's how I got a knack of the new technology. So you should be hands-on with the new technologies, not just at a level where you are just watching some expert to come. So if today also like a security architect, you should not just watch my what I said, but actually implement it. Do some practical things about quantum or see what are the new things. Then only you will grow. So staying curious definitely helped me. Right network. I always was part of a network. I say networking is important, but right networking is also important. If you are not choosing your network properly, you will not be going in a right direction. You will stay in the same path or in the domain because you are not seeing what new is happening. Like right network is because you should know what is happening new in the domain, right? It's all we kept seeing that new things are important, new things are important. That will only come if you are in the right network. So networking is important, but right networking is the most important for me. What personally helped me. So I keep ensuring that I am in the right network, not just network. Okay. And the value of time. I emphasize value of time that my time should go into something which is productive for me. It should not be just like I'm doing something random things which I'm not getting value out of it. I'm doing spending my time in the areas, in the events, or in the work which is personally useful for me or is helping me learn something new or maybe getting a new friends or something like that. Not just for coming and doing something which does not give me value. Which is not proving value, and that comes in like from a remote job perspective. Now for me remote jobs are giving me value of time because I can be more productive as a remote employee comparatively spending time 2 hours 3 hours commuting in it. So those kind of things are what I realized over time, and now my focus is to emphasize that these are things which I'm doing. So that's what I can say. Again, connect with me. I am always available. I'm not a person in disguise. You already might be knowing me. I'm on LinkedIn. I also have channel The Hacker Club. My website is there. Please reach out. I share tutorials and a lot. This channel is 10 years old. As I said, I adopt technology very fast. I started this channel. My tutorials are for 10 years ago. Like you will find assembly programming, assembly security, all those kind of tutorials are available, which I created 10 years ago, not now. So that's why I said like keep updated with the new technologies. That is the only way you can grow. The skills can only grow if you are very updated and hands on with the new technologies. Yeah, Sanjeev, that's all I can share.
Yeah, that's a very good insight, and we have been very crisp. Like, of course, I mean, explaining all those whatever slides you had, right? I think we should have 90 minutes or 2 hour session to explain with more examples because, but yeah, we have some questions, and these questions
Yeah,
are very
sure.
much appropriate. So some of the questions I will read, and maybe you can answer those
Sure,
questions,
sure.
and I will also try to write some of those points. So, how much knowledge should we have, or should we have from the attacker mindset? And how much depth do you think we should have hacking knowledge for a security architect position?
Yeah, so for me, like again, it will be a biased answer for me personally, Sanjeev, because I'm coming from a offensive background. So
Right.
I personally value that, like for me, it is useful because I know that what are the 99 ways I can hack a system. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
know the 900 ways to secure it now because I know the 99 ways I can do it. And again, like my offensive knowledge may not be updated right now. So what I do is I try to do pen testing, I try to do bug bounties in my free time when I can, so just to be updated about the new things or new scope which are going. So I personally feel that you should know an attacker mindset, you should know the offensive side, that will help you plan this security better. And this keeps changing, like attacker mindset keeps changing, it is not very constant as well.
Exactly. Right. So now, do you have any tips? Because this is the question from Abdullah. Any tips for
It's
the fresher in cybersecurity? Which one is good for long-term defensive security or offensive security?
as I said, I'll be very offensive, like I will be very biased. I'll say offensive security. Security is like it's a game of protection. Like engineering is to build, right? Security
Yep.
is to secure. Like it's in the name itself. And the way you can secure is if you can actually hack it. That's how I pursue security. Of course, now I'm in a defensive role, like Sanjeev. I'm also doing like defensive side compared to offensive, but I personally feel that offensive would be a long term game. Like that's how I developed my defensive side.
Right, right. Because unless and until you know like how to break, how you make sure like how to defend, right? So
Correct.
both the side knowledges will be required at least for the architect position because we both are I think coming from the both background like doing the pen test as well and then doing the security code review and doing the threat modeling as well. So yeah, that's the important point. And now the next question is from Gaurav Arora. Do you think like creating policies versus enforcing them are two different things and how do
Very,
you
very
work?
two different, man. Two
Yep.
different things, and it required two different efforts. So creating a policy is something which is on me. I can do it in 2 days. So I create two different Jira tickets for it, by the way. So creating a policy is like maybe a week effort for me. I research, I come up with something in mind, and I do it. But enforcing is where I need help from different teams. I need help from engineering. I need from SRE. I need help from security itself. So that's where the collaboration come into the picture, and that's where your skills as a collaborator, as a leader, will kick in. So it's two different things, and the time is also different. Implementation always will take more time than creating a policy document.
Yeah, yeah, right. So now I will say one thing from like as a kind of common question that let's say be it you are a fresher, you are into pen test, or you are into SOC, or you are trying to get into the cybersecurity domain. So if your interest into the security architect position side, right, uh, be it like finding a mentor or discussing all these questions throughout your career, I think we are there. Nikhil has shared his website and other thing. We also have a WhatsApp channel. Also, we are very active over LinkedIn, so you can connect with both of us. I mean, I will share the feedback form, or just you can share your feedbacks and thoughts, like what could be the next session that you want on these topics. Because I saw like there are some specific concept-wise questions were there, so I'm trying to avoid those because it is like an overview of a security architect role, and then inside security architect, as Nikhil was telling, like there are so many things that you need to learn from the API security perspective, from the crypto perspective, and the same thing from the network security perspective, Kubernetes security. So we can have another session on all these specific topics. But as of now, I will say like find a good mentor. If you're not finding, talk to us. We will help you guys and connect over our WhatsApp and over LinkedIn. Yeah, and I think I have shared my WhatsApp link as well. So in GitHub repository, there are few folks who are trying to write a study plan for you guys, interview questions. Like I and Nikhil are very active on those GitHub repositories. That also link I have shared. But in case if any specific links you guys want to us to share, you can write us a mail or ask in that WhatsApp group. We will help you. Yeah,
I think
I
I skipped a very important slide or the point to say, which I should said in the start, that all the opinions and the views are money. So these are so
yeah, yeah, true.
there might be friction about what I said, because these are something which I feel, again, like I'm not, like as I said, like an expert, or you should not go with what I said. You should take a call what you think is right.
Yeah,
What I shared is my journey, like what I feel and what I am feeling, and I
yeah.
might be right, I might be wrong, but you should take a call according to your situation and what you feel is right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whatever we are saying does not mean like we want to harm and one someone, or we are saying like this is not good, this is good. So all the things, see, your knowledge will never go waste, right? So
Yeah.
whatever, but learning and unlearning both should be there. Imagine the time in 2010 where we didn't know that there is something on cloud computing or Kubernetes, right? And even in 2015, can someone say that there will be a Gen AI security job roles or prompt engineers, right? Even till 2022, I think people didn't know that okay, there will be a prompt engineering role. Or nowadays, like there are AI security engineers, AI security architect, AI security, now ethical AI is privacy AI. So many things are coming up, right? So we just have to learn as, I mean, we have to go by the flow and whatever is coming into that. So that's how Nick and I enjoy all these new technologies, because we want to embrace that particular position as well. So we learned starting from coding, pen testing, application security, cloud security, API security, and now we are learning like all these like container security and also AI security. So yeah, I will say like keep learning. Resources, how we keep updated ourselves. This was also one of the common question, like how we keep ourselves updated in all these domains. So I would say like maybe subscribe to some of the newsletter, uh, connect with like-minded people over LinkedIn and Twitter, try to attend the webinars and the events, offline events, which actually make sense for you, right? So there are so
Yeah,
many like
so just to add point, that's where your time for value will come into the picture. I like personally, I feel like something, a topic where you know that why data is important in AI. That kind of topics, you don't need 10 lectures to tell that data is important. You should know how to protect your data in AI. That is more like hands-on thing, and that would be adding more value to your time. So try to get spend your time there. And I'm not saying just the meetups or the like conferences. You would be lucky if you are in Bangalore, that you we have a very good environment of meetups and conferences in Bangalore. It's like I love Bangalore just for that. But still, YouTube itself or like online itself, there are tons of resources which are free where you can actually get these skills. So, whoa, as I told you, double click on the skills. Don't just go out on like technology, that the new AI, data privacy in AI, compliance in AI, data security in AI. That is not the thing. Like you, people will not expect in the interview that you know. They'll not ask in the interview, "Are you worried about the data security in AI?" That will not be an interview question. The question in the interview would be, "How do you secure the data in AI?" That would be the question. So you should know how to answer and how to do that, not whether you are concerned it or not.
yeah.
So
I think
accordingly, spend your time.
Yeah, I think we are building that security interview
Yeah.
questions where we are writing all this for like what are the questions, scenario based questions should be there for security architects, and how basically you can try to respond to those questions. So I think Nikhil has shared around 8 or 10 questions, so we will add more. So if you are not aware about that
I have to
GitHub
give more
repository, I'll
interviews
share.
for it.
Yeah.
I have to give more interviews.
Yeah, that's the another way to see. But the other way is like there are so many people. For example, more than 50 people connected here. So if imagine if we contribute collectively, right, how many questions we will have, right? So I would encourage everyone, like you can send even 1 or 2 questions. If you want to send us, you can send us in a mail or chat, or you can do the pull request, and basically you can
What is better
post
is
it there.
directly pull it to the GitHub. That is the
Yes,
best way to
yes,
learn.
that way you will get the credit as well, right? Yeah. I think we are out of time, 10, 12 minutes. So thank you everyone for attending the session and listening very costly. And making sure that this will be a successful event. This won't be a successful event without you guys and all the questions that you guys have asked. This was really nice. Some of the questions are still unanswered, so we will take it forward through WhatsApp group, through LinkedIn, and I will encourage you guys to share your feedback so that we can come up with all the other uh, topics in future. Yeah. Thank you everyone, and thank you Nikhil for your time in especially in a weekdays, especially in your busy schedule when you had lots of other events to go ahead and all. But and the slides was very nice. So thank
Thank
you for
you.
that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye. Thanks,
Yeah.
Sanjeev.
Take care. Take care. Bye bye.